what's going on, people? Today I'm going to be talking about Escape from L.A. on Blu-ray, special edition though. And without any other further ado, let's get straight into the movie itself. Now, you guys know that I love John Carpenter films. Even the later half films, I definitely like talking about them. And you know what? Escape from L.A. is no different. Here is a movie that everybody wanted a sequel to. You know, just like, what, They Live or The Thing, everybody wanted a sequel to Escape from New York. For all the praise that I give that movie, it does come across a little bit underfunded. It's a very small film that, you know what, it just screams for a bigger budget, even for the time. And here, John Carpenter is given that budget with a bigger film, and now Snake Plissken is in L.A. Now, with bigger budgets, you really get the sense of who directors are as and what their sensibilities are. You know, they are unleashed. They're not restricted anymore. And with this movie, you can see where John Carpenter wants to push the character of Snake Plissken in a way that just comes across very goofy and not as pulpy as the Escape from New York was. In Escape from New York, Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell, is kind of like a Clint Eastwood, a man with no name. Just, walks into a scenario, you know almost nothing about him, and he just talked very little, and he just kind of has that mystique about him, and you're always wondering, what's his deal? In this movie, a lot of that allure kind of goes away. You just have him doing just crazy-ass things just because you have the budget to do them, like surfing and just a bunch of just very awkward, totally weird choices. But the action here is stepped up. If you have a problem with the action in Escape from New York, it is stepped up here. You get bigger action that doesn't have that, in Escape from New York, sometimes with the action, it will seem like it wants to promise you something that it really can't deliver, and it won't. Here, it will deliver on things that it promises you. And what it does promise you, though, is ridiculous action. So if you like ridiculous action, you will like this movie because it definitely gives that to you. At times, I like it. At times, I don't, and I find it ridiculous. The story is very much the same as before, but I just like the character of Snake Plissken, and I like seeing him again. I like putting him in different scenarios, and I enjoy watching this movie, even though I recognize the fact that it is a pretty steep step down, and that is why I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. And getting into the video quality of this Blu-ray, I will say that this is pretty damn good. So this was actually given a 4K scan of the original camera negative. But this isn't a 4K disc, so it is just 1080p, but you definitely get just a large uptick in quality from the previous Blu-ray that came out in 2010 because of the fact that in that Blu-ray, the blacks here that are just so prevalent were really, really brightened, and it just didn't look good. With here, this is more of a respectable transfer that really respects the intent. This is a very dark and dim movie. But with that being said, you can see a lot into these black levels, and you can see that they are deep and inky and the way that you would want it to be. And if you grew up with this film, you will be very well served by this transfer. Clarity is pretty good. without being excellent, it is just pretty good. And it is a lot of the intent. So you do have black levels that make the clarity of this Blu-ray not as clear as some other discs, but it is very well done here with edges that are pretty defined. And as far as detail is concerned here, close-ups are the best. And you get a decent amount of detail when it comes into just facial features and articles on clothing. A lot of the scenery that you could get detail from is largely masked by pretty dark blacks. But when things do brighten up, you can see a great amount of detail in the area of LA here, and a lot of the landscapes and what has come of LA. And I feel like it has a little bit more of a statement of what has come from LA, a little bit more than Escape from New York, just because of the fact that they are able to actually show you things in this film that they just didn't have the budget for in New York. With all that being said, I am actually going to give this an 8 out of 10. This is pretty damn good. And getting into the audio quality here, this is actually given a 5.1 DTS HD mix that is really good, you know? It is loud, it is bombastic, and it definitely has that John Carpenter vibe. The score here is great. I love it. And it has never sounded any better. You get the deep, deep bass response that you want from the score of this film. And it pours through your speakers, giving great speaker separation as well. Surrounds are heavily, heavily used in this film. And this is just an overall great active mix. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And as far as digital copies are concerned here, there is no digital copy with this disc. Shop Factory tends to do that, but what they also tend to do is pack on the special features, and there are so many here. It is crazy. There is over 3 hours of special features and featurettes going over every bit of this film, and the reason why they came back to Snake Plissken and expanded this world. I really do love the special features here, and they have a lot of interviews with John Carpenter. I love listening to him talk, and this is just overall a spectacular amount of special features that I'm going to give a 9 out of 10 to. And getting into my last looks at Escape from LA. Look, this movie is gonzo ridiculous. And if you can go with that, a more ridiculous version of Escape from New York, then you will like this movie. At times I go with it, and at times I don't. I like the action a little bit better in this movie overall when it doesn't get too ridiculous, just because of the fact that it delivers, and it's able to deliver on the action that it promises. And the action scenes here just have an escalation that in Escape from New York it just doesn't have, just because that movie was so underfunded. And when you add up all my scores for Escape from LA on Blu-ray Special Edition, you come out to a 33 out of 40. That is because of the fact that the video and audio quality of this movie is pretty good, and the movie is good as well, and the special features are just over the top great. So if you like the movie, you'll be very well served by this disc. And coming up next is actually a surprise that I have for you guys, and I have it coming up as in the mail to me right now. So I will be back to talk about it in a couple of days. Comment down below if you want to guess what it actually is. It is something big. I'll just tell you guys that. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. I don't need to say it because you all know it, and I will see all of you next time.